Someday over there I'll say, yes, heaven came down, Jesus lived up to his name. Oh, yes, heaven came down, Jesus lived up to his name. His name.
One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wonder what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I.
Hello. We're going to get going here. This is 1100 WSG. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is One Street Over. What's going on One Street Over? From where you living? We're loving it because we get to live and work in Robertson County. And I've been looking forward to this show because Bill Jones, of course, I always love it when Bill comes in and shares with us. This is History Monday that we have. And I'm going to get you to scoot over to you next to your son a little bit so we get on camera. You can't see the cameras. We were having some visual issues, technical stuff in here, so we are a few minutes logging on, but that's okay. We're here. And I wanted to make sure we got the cameras running because his son is here. Bruce Jones is in the house.
Hello.
And I'm so excited because he told me you were going to be here. And I thought, well, how fun to have you both in here. And I just think this is a cool thing. Now, I was thinking that you lived further away, but you actually live in Franklin.
Yes, that's right.
We could get you in here more than just, Sure. I mean, yeah, we need to do this, make this a reoccurring
He loves
thing.
getting up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is a bit of a thing. We're spoiled. Bill and I, we live
I can
down
walk
the road. He could walk here. I live just 2 miles away. So, yeah, it's a little bit easier for us, especially in the summertime, man. I'm just going, this is my summer retire. I told everybody because I'm doing things, getting ready for school and all that. So I'm usually a little more formal. So I apologize for the ball cap and all that,
That's
just
fine.
kind of chill today. So you were on the news. That's what started this whole thing, Bruce. You were on what network were you on doing this? CNBC. And what was that all about?
I participated with them for the last year and a half, giving them on their surveys about real estate.
Okay.
And, I'm a real estate broker in Franklin, and they called me kind of last minute and said, would you be available for an interview talking about some of the things you talked about on the survey?
Okay.
Apparently, I struck a nerve on some things on there. It was some other things, some other agents been saying the same thing across the country. It was positive news. And so I said, sure, when? And they're like, 30, 40 minutes. I was like, oh, okay. So I had to turn my camera on at the office and I did a little Zoom video of it. And they didn't really say much about when it would be on or whatever. And I was out showing houses the next week. And while I was showing some houses, one of my clients said, hey, great quote from you this morning on CNBC. And then I get a little text from him. It's like, you're going to be on air in 20 minutes. I was like, okay. So,
cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. And I saw a little segment of it.
I sent it.
Bill
Yeah,
sent it to me. And And I watched it a little bit. Now, I have a friend out in Franklin, Buffy Burrell. Do you know Buffy?
No, I don't.
She does real estate out there.
Okay.
So I thought, I don't know, I thought maybe all y'all, everybody, if anytime anybody knows anybody that's in the broadcast industry in Nashville, do you know so-and-so? And I'm like, unless they worked in my office, I don't necessarily, because there's a lot of us, and there's a lot of realtors out there. How long have you been doing real estate?
30 years.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. What got you interested in real estate?
Actually, my grandfather, Dad's dad, we called me one day and said there was a little house up here on Garner Street.
Okay.
He knew that somebody was wanting to sell it, and he said, you ought to buy that and fix it up and,
Flip it.
we didn't call it flipping back then,
Did
but,
you not?
just,
Okay.
but that's what it was. And
Right.
so, I went up there and went to the hardware store and got paint and started. Of course, he bought it, granddad, and I was on the deed, I think, with him, but he had to buy it. But back then, it was $40,000. The house, little brick house there.
Nice.
And I worked on it. I was in college and worked on it weekends. Come back, and then I wanted to sell it, but no one would take me seriously when I go show the house because of my age.
You're
I was
just a kid.
yeah, I was.
Hey.
So I hired an agent and to put it up for sale. And I wish I would have kept it, of course, everything. But
Yeah.
something happened. I remember the rates went way up, and somebody said, well, they need to lease it for a while because of that. And I did. I leased it to this couple, and then with the agreement that they would later on allow me to show it for sale.
Okay.
And so I did. And I remember the agent called me and said, we're having some problems with them. And they weren't letting the agent show the house. So I had to go over there, at a very young age and sit down with them. I said, you're going to have to stop this. And if you don't, I'm going to have to kick you out.
Yeah.
And so that was a tough conversation to have, but it did help me a lot with things. And I really, I was working over at HCA at their corporate office, and I met somebody that had a real estate license, and I thought that would be interesting. So I just went on weekends and classes and got my license, and just got it for the fun of it. And I really didn't think much about it.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd really do much with it, really. So, I didn't think much was going to happen. Then a lady that used to work for me called me immediately. She said, I heard somebody said you got your real estate license. I said, sure. And she goes, sell my house. And I didn't know what I was doing. And so, but I got with another agent that I knew, and we co-listed and sold it really fast and made her a lot of money. And she was so happy. And that just kind of happened over and over for a while there. And wasn't really trying. It just kind of happened.
Kind of thinking, putting your toe in the water a little bit.
Yep, exactly. So, but it's changed a lot over the years. Back then I carried a pager, and so you get in paging, and my friends would send me funny little page numbers all the time, so but and we didn't have any photos online.
Yeah.
Just a description. And of course, everybody lied, it seemed like. Best house ever. And you pull up and you're like, this is the best house ever. Yeah. It was terrible.
Oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting that when you think about the way it's changed.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what's fascinating to me. We were talking about that I teach at Greenbrier. And while I teach audio and video and all the things, I talk very frankly about the realities of this industry. And it's a fun and it's a neat industry, but you got to make a living. And I've had several kids that want to dip their toe in this water, but they're like, maybe I'll do real estate. And I tell them, I think that's a great idea because you can kind of set your hours. And do you know that the state of Tennessee now has a real estate license that kids can get in high school through the business classes?
Yeah, I tell everybody right now that if you're going to get in real estate, it's very complex than not what it used to be at all.
Right.
And you should really join a team
Right.
and learn things. And going out on your own is just going to be very, very difficult. And quite honestly, people wanting to buy large investments of houses, they don't really want to work with somebody that's never done it.
Right.
I wouldn't either if I were them.
No.
And so I was talking to somebody yesterday that I hired a consultant for I have a team of agents. There's 6 of us, and and they said, why would you hire a consultant? And I said, there's so much changing right now, and AI is changing things very quickly. It's making things. I'm telling people, it's like people are over engineering simple tasks, and it's making things difficult because they're literally saying, like, AI said that you priced this house too high, you priced it too low. Or they're coming up with questions I've never heard before because they're asking AI. And so it's taken over the search. About 72% of the search now is AI related, not Google.
Yeah.
And so, and it's going to change how everybody does things. But it's, so we have so many things like the team and I, we meet every 2 weeks, and it has to, your presence online, like your profiles online need to be matching up for your AI search. And because everybody's online looking at homes, they're not looking for agents, they're looking at homes. So you have to have a really strong online presence. And I'm with Compass, and they're a very tech-driven company. So it's so many changes all the time. Just going in it cold, especially somebody real young that doesn't have a lot of experience with any type of business. One thing, I work for corporations, and having that corporate background, working with spreadsheets, data, and everything really helped me a lot. But if you've never done that, I've got a client right now. It's very, very data driven. All the time. Give me this, give me that. So you have to be right on top of them. And they're buying a $3 million house. I mean, they're a smart cookie. They want to know all the information.
That's it's fascinating to me to hear about this, because it's so interesting what you were saying about AI, because that's how I work now. Is I don't Google anything. I go to Chat GPT and ask it there, and then I might cross-reference something and go and look at something on Google, but I'll ask Chat, hey, can you direct me to this, this, and this, because I avoid all the advertising. And because it seems like with Google, everything is ad-driven, and it is all about, who can get that top position with the Google Meister or whatever. And we're not having that with Chat, and I don't know that we will, because so many are paying for that. Do you think do you use Chat, Bill?
I don't use it. No,
you don't use it yet. I bet you will. You think?
Well, I put it off. I think,
Yeah.
I got something else to do, and I don't do it.
Because there's all kinds of them that are free.
They are, yeah.
But I finally bit the bullet, and I actually pay for Chat now. One of my kids is actually, I've got 2 that work at HCA. You mentioned HCA, and one of them is he's the manager for AI for Chat. And so that's his product that he manages or does. I forget exactly his title with HCA, but that's his thing that he does. And so because he's really into that, he understands it ins and outs. So that's the reason why I use that one.
I think over there's a requirement. It's called Copilot by Microsoft that when they put together things at HCA, I have a friend over there, they have to run it through there first.
Yeah.
To see if there's any mistakes.
Yeah.
And they say it does catch mistakes. So it's really streamline things for them and make them a little bit more efficient. So that's a great idea to do that. I think though, I've had several times that people say, want to maybe argue with me on a price of something or whatever, because AI is telling them one thing, and AI is it agrees with you. It tends to agree with you when you type in things.
Yes.
So it's just like, am I paying too much for this house? Well, the way you ask the question, it depends on, and then the way you ask it will come out, your end result will be somewhat favorable the way you ask it. So I have to come through there with my knowledge and experience, and just like, you're asking an algorithm here, or the AI that, and it doesn't know the house. It doesn't know the smells of the house. It doesn't know the functionalities of the house, the neighbor next door, the topography, and so that's where you need a seasoned expert to help you with that.
Well, and that's what people, like you said, with AI, because I've seen so many people, and you may have seen these too, Bill, where AI will agree with them on spiritual and religious and theological questions. Well, the reason why is because it's figured you out, and it's going to basically find it's going to find because you're going to what you seek, you will find. That's the thing. And so it's going to point you in that direction. And so, yeah, it definitely does do that. And so you have to look at it objectively. But did you encourage him to go into real estate?
I helped him with that house. That was a house on 4th and Garner. But anyway, back to this other thing. I'm very skeptical of AI. You know, when I start I look at some stuff and I thought, they could be wrong, and they are wrong. I've looked at historical stuff about Springfield, and they'll say, oh, yes, this and this and this happened in Springfield. No, it didn't. So you have to be very careful what you're listening to, talking to. You can't believe everything you see, like you were talking about. You really need somebody around you that's knows what's going on.
Well, the one thing that we started doing, I told my team, I said, ask AI about yourself. You know, go in there and just say, like, and like, tell me more about Bruce Jones. Oh. And so what we did was that part of what the consultant's doing for us is make sure all our online data is correct. So if there's something out there that's incorrect, it may pull from that source and give you incorrect information. So you're almost like you're training AI.
Right.
Like to have the correct information on it. So, and if you think about it, all AI is doing is pulling data. And like, so if there's incorrect data out there, and it's like, so if somebody has put something wrong on Wikipedia, and like, which could easily be done. Oh yeah. And like, so then it pulls it and like, it's all of a sudden like, is that a fact? Well, people are believing it because, well, this is what it says here. It says it online. I can't believe they believe everything they read like that.
Well, that's what people do nowadays. They believe anything they see.
Well, it's my husband's the worst. I mean, he's going to kill me because he's listening to this. He's a big fan of your dad's. So he's like, Bill's on. I'll be listening. I'm like, well, his son's going to be on there too. Well, I'll be listening. Hi, honey. But he is, I have to really call him
put a shot towards you. You know, he was a champion shot putter out there.
Yeah.
He could throw a brick at you.
No, he's a good guy. But he is constantly finding something on social media and then he'll post it. And I'm like, honey, did you check that out? And I'm like, that's not real. Somebody built that because they're looking for clicks. And people are always doing
clickbait.
Yes. And he was like, oh, take it down. Because he put up something yesterday. And I said, did you check this out? No. And I said, it's fake. Okay, take it down. And it was something silly, but it was still, I said, they're just trying to get you to click and post. And so, and I catch myself doing the same thing sometimes. I've had it happen a couple of times, and I was like, ugh, I reacted too quickly.
Well, my daughter's in college at Ole Miss, and she talks about this a lot.
I bet.
And she refuses to use the chat and all that for paperwork and things like that because one thing is, and I agree with her. She's like, people are losing their creativity.
Yes.
And you don't want to lose that. So, and even in real estate, I've seen some agents, they throw in the basic information, have AI write the description of the house. And sometimes I read these like, this is so fake.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with one client. They were all very data driven. And they kept sending me things. And I said, you're not writing any of this. It's all AI. Yeah. So I started having fun with them. I punched in theirs into AI and let my AI answer their AI.
That's hysterical. That's funny. That's
Why
funny.
not?
I had, when we just got back from a mission trip and we were on the road for a couple of weeks. And so I had some downtime. And so I would get on my phone. I write little children's stories and I write little creative things. And so I've got this story I'm working on and I just was I had a little bit of a block. I was like, I need something unique. So I kind of put the basics into AI. I need it to go this way, this way, this way. And it starts spitting out a story, but it was just, it just wasn't. But it did kind of give me an angle, and then I started and completely rewrote everything. So, that's what I tell my students. I said, there's nothing wrong with letting it break through a wall for you. Mm-hmm. But, I, number one, pray about it first, because I've also written things, and you've written where I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't really know where to go with this. And then all of a sudden I'll get a new direction, So do that first. But, I don't see anything wrong with using, I think we have to learn to use AI.
Oh, yes.
But we've got to I tell the students, I said, the people who learn to use it properly are going to be the ones that have the edge.
You're right.
One of my boys, the other one that's at HCA, he is, let's see, he's the director of cloud distribution, I think is what he does. And I think he will credit one of the reasons why he has grown through the company is because of his expertise with Excel. You know, he learned in college, he needed to learn Excel. And it's just something that some people are just like, but you need to know it when it comes to the stuff he works with. I think the same thing is going to be said for AI. The people who can master that are going to be almost like the ones who have been able to master things like Excel and different types of software that they need. Would you,
Yeah.
what do you think?
There's different types of AI out there. There's Perplexity, there's Claude, there's Grok, and they different ones kind of do different things. Anything that you would use one for one type of business and another with another type of business. So you need to know what that is.
Right.
But you know, you can have fun with it too. I was playing around with it one day, and I wrote some things. And I'm like, top 10 something, you know, something funny for the office. And I said, make this satire. And and it's funny what it spit out. And I said, make some fake charts and graphs, you know, like, and all that. And, you know, it did it. It's amazing how fast it'll do it.
Really.
But it was kind of fun to play around with.
Yeah.
And like, so, and you post little funny things like that, and people know it's that. But one time I wrote something, and it said, I punched it in there, and it goes like, you may be getting some legal trouble here, you know, like by saying
how
this.
funny.
And I said, well, I'm being, you know, it's tongue in cheek. And they said, do you mean satire? And I said, yes. I said, oh. And I'm like, so it's
That's
kind of funny.
okay.
It picked up on that. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, okay. But it has at times, you know, when you're on the go, you know, having to run really fast and you need something to be very professional, it's kind of good to kind of put in there and just kind of clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think, you know, and Sophie said, my daughter in college, that the professors will put their work in there to see how much was written by AI, and they'll tell them. And students are getting in trouble over this. So she just refuses to use it.
Yeah.
So, which I think is good. And I think, you know, I think a lot of it, when COVID came around, a lot of people lost their ability to critically think for themselves. And so this is causing problems with people having to critically, you know, be creativity. And like, so, but, you know, they're saying now that, especially here in schools, that, you know, pretty soon that some of their best friends, quote, will be in their AI avatar.
And I'm telling you, you got to be careful. And that was one of the things that my son that works with the AI at HCA was saying. You can do the settings on there to be just get to the point or be more personable, to where it's like almost chatting with you like a friend, you know. And it'll bring up, well, I know you and your husband were just in Mexico, and da da da. And I'm like, stop, you know. It will do that. It's really creepy.
I have an account that I pay for the team, you know, for that too. But and one thing that we learned, that I said, do not put any financials in here about yourself or anything else. So it's out there. So you just don't want that. And it's like, so I tell people, you gotta be very careful with this. So once it's out there, you can't get it back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why
That's
I
a
tell
good
the kids.
point.
I tell every one of my kids that come into my classroom, I tell our principal, Dr. Osborne, I said, honestly, any kid in this school would benefit from Audio Video 1, because if they're on social media, they're a broadcaster.
Right.
And that's every test I give, that question is on there. If you're on social media, are you a broadcaster, true or false? Yeah, or, you know, answer the question.
Well, people, you know, if you think about text messaging, people don't know proper grammar. You know, like it's like to write in
unbelievable.
letters and things like that. But one thing, my daughter, when she was younger, she said, I'd like to see about getting into acting. So we took her out to California to a class and everything, and she, you know, didn't really want to do this and things like, but she got into some classes to getting comfortable in front of a camera, and enunciation was, and like, so that really was, I think, like you said, like in school, I've always thought in schools that they, you know, especially your senior year, they need to teach people a little bit more about financials, like personal finance. But right now, I used to say how to balance a checkbook. Well, nobody really does that much anymore. But now I think that kids especially should be looking at what all they're getting killed by 1,000 cuts and things like, just about the little things they spend. It's like all the apps. Oh my gosh, all the, things that are entertainment or any of the things. They're just Starbucks, or whatever.
Oh,
like
yeah.
so. And they're just getting killed by these little bitty charges on there. So if they would just track things, what gets attention is what gets you track, gets your attention. So if they would do that, I think it would be really helpful because they're not really paying attention to their money at all.
Well, we have personal finance classes required now.
That's
and
great.
That's good. And through the business classes and things, but we're going to talk about a realtor here because Barry and Rebecca Richards are they are my longest running full-time sponsor. I don't know if you know the Richards or not, but I need to stop and do an ad because we're already halfway through and check in. Did you have anything particular you wanted to talk about, Bill, or you just bring
I've just got backup information about the movie theaters.
Because that's something
if you run out, I can do
it. Because I don't know if you've seen the Capitol Theater. Have you gone over to see what they've done with the theater?
I haven't. I drove by there.
Oh, you'll see it at night. It's so beautiful. Good. It's just so cool. And I'm sure since you grew up here, it's a nostalgia.
I just wonder if anything else like it's around here.
I know I hear about different ones at St. because I guess in Franklin they have a theater, but it's used for all kinds of things, isn't it? It's not. This is a first run. I mean, they're putting out first run movies. So.
They do a lot of fun movies, Elf and things like that, and Christmas, but they have a lot of entertainment there. So
so I'm not really sure what all Michael's planning. I mean, it's a movie theater, and it's really cool what they've done. But let me do my ad, and we'll come back. And I had challenged him. The reason why my son and his one of my boys, came with his crew, and we saw a movie there last week. And he said, "Man, I'd love to see the history of this place, and just kind of maybe see it on the wall or on the website." I said, well, I know the man to ask. So that's the reason why I asked him about that. But let me pause for a second and let's talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, our longest running full-time sponsor. It's very interesting that we're talking real estate today because, our two big full-time sponsors are all directly connected. Valor Mortgage is another one, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But Barry and Rebecca, they are here local. They're in Robertson County. They've been here for 30 years. This is home. So they specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky because like myself, they're originally from Kentucky, and they understand that if you're going to buy a property across the state line, you now have to have a broker that can broker deals in Kentucky because those laws have changed. They have a broker that they work with up at the White House office that can do just that. So no matter what your needs, if buying or selling, if you want to be a realtor, just like what we were talking about, you need to work with a team. When Rebecca became a realtor, she determined that she wanted to work with a team, and she became part of the Exit team, and they have been ever since. They brought a new branch in the tree, Exit Prime Realty, a few years ago. And if you want to be a part of that team or work with that team, Barry is a broker here in Springfield, has an office on Square, and then Rebecca's office is in White House, and then they've also welcomed Brandy and Samuel Hastings to the Exit Prime team. Anything you need, again, whether it's coming to know how much home you can buy, they're going to point you in the right direction there. Maybe you want to get a free market appraisal to see exactly what your property's worth. Is it a time to sell? That's a conversation you need to have before you get on the market, and you need to make sure you have the right videography, the photography, drone footage, walkthrough tours, all those things. And because of Barry's expertise in the marketing field, he was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years in Nashville. He brings that to the team. They are the whole package. And if you want to reach out to them, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. 7425 or 7424, or connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Always let them know U-Turn sent you. And getting back to the conversation, we've been talking specifically about, we've got Bruce Jones in here this morning, and he's mentioned you so many times, and I didn't really know exactly what you did, or does your daughter live out of the state? California. That's what I was thinking. Do you have just two kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the most.
I knew you'd say that.
You're so, Bill. So funny. One of the things he's told me about you several times is I love all this history and all this archival stuff, and he says, "Yeah, my son says I'm going to throw it all away," or something like that. So he says, you're not as interested in all the archival stuff. I'm teasing you, but he says that. He says, "Yeah, Bruce says he's going to toss it. No, get rid of it."
I didn't say that.
Oh, you didn't.
Let me mention something.
We're just teasing. We're just playing.
Looking back in our history here, we had peaks and valleys in property sales. But I noticed in 19 29, stock market crash in 29. But before that, things were just blowing up. Everything was getting really nice. I had one of my father's brothers got into the automobile business in Springfield. He sold Graham Page autos, and they were sort of like Cadillacs then. And it went out because of, the plan. But in 39, when the Capitol Theater was built, they also built the Coca-Cola Company building down on North Main. They built the high school. There was a lot of building going on then, and a lot of new houses coming in. Then after that, World War II came along. Then in 50, say 49, they come in and start building a lot of houses again. It just goes up and down. And he just went through a down period. You just wonder, what should you do as a person that's wanting to sell your house or property? Do you wait for an uptime? You sell while it's down, or buy, whatever? That's a question I've always thought of, wondered about.
Well, this is a conversation I've had with Barry and Rebecca, because I've known them for a long time, and people will ask them, when's a good time to buy? And he says, now, because there's not making any more real estate. They're not making any more property.
He told me that over and over. And there was a house that we were thinking about buying just for an investment.
Right.
And it was $90,000 back several years ago. And now, it's 250 or 300. And my wife keeps reminding me, you should have bought that. You should have. I said, but he always tells me, you will find out that 5 years later, you'll be glad you bought it at that price. You think it's high now, it's going to be higher later.
Well, the property that we own the property down at the end of Lawrence Lane that Lloyd Kite had. It's right next to the wastewater plant, and we walked away from it several times because of being next to the utility. But we were wanting property to open up our roofing company. We ran a roofing company there for 20 years, and we needed it was just perfect. We had the livestock barn, which became our warehouse. We turned the dairy barn into office space. I mean, it was finished out office and all that. Couldn't have been a more perfect setting. And we've had so many people tell us they wish they'd known the property had been for sale, because I don't know that it'll ever be back on the market, because I have 4 boys and they plan on hanging on to it. So you have to think about that. But I've had so many people, because it's just right there at Carrs Creek and Sulphur Fork. It's just a pretty little spot. And I can't begin to tell you how many people in the county, I wish I'd have known that property was for sale, and those types of things. And so when you think about properties that you've always had your eye on, there was a house back home that my aunt and uncle had, and I can remember the person who bought that said, I didn't think it'd ever go for sale, and they were surprised because they thought the family would hang on to it. And so you just have to kind of, if you've got your eye on something, boy, if it comes up, you better grab it, because somebody else probably does too.
Over and over again, I'm just getting out there and looking at properties and stuff, and making educating yourself about what's available out there. I run into opportunities. There was one years ago that I had some clients from Illinois, and they didn't know the area, but we went out to a piece of property, just hit the market, and I told her, I said, something's wrong. I said, this is not priced right. It's like it's underpriced. And it was like several parcels of land. This is in 2020. Summer 20, COVID's going on, everything. And you didn't really know quite yet what was about to happen. But I just said, if you don't buy it, I will. And they didn't. And I called a builder friend of mine. I said, get out here. And I said, so he came out there that day, and I said, you need to buy one of these parcels. He bought the one next door, and at the time, it's like, I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll just, a lot of things just wrapping up under contract, put your contingencies in there. So the wild thing about it was they didn't have it parceled off yet, septic, perked, or anything. And I just said, I wrote the contract, and I said, here's full price for it. And once you put the stakes in, I'll have 10 days to approve it. And if I don't like it, I'll get out. So it's no risk.
Right.
It took them, because of COVID, everything slowed down. It took them 14 months to get that done.
Oh, my.
So the value went way up.
Yeah.
So I did something. I wrote it in there, and as my name, that I put and/or assigns. I got to sign out the contract. That's called wholesaling. And just in case, like I wanted somebody else, I'll sign it out to them. And I did that. And the person paid me $355,000 more than what I was supposed to pay for it. I never closed on it.
Wow.
They just paid me the profit there at closing.
Yeah.
Plus, I made the commissions
Oh, wow.
off buying it. And then the builder, and while I was leaving there that day, somebody flagged me down on the road, and they said, well, I saw you out there, and what do you know? And I said, well, I don't have the listing. They said, well, you can help us? So I helped them buy one too.
Oh, how wild.
But just getting out
Yeah,
there
you just-
and seeing things, but sometimes just knowing what you see value in things. And I did this with another piece of property down in Columbia that I called the agent, and, you know, we're all getting there one day, but I could just tell on the phone that she was quite older, you know, and I said, she's like, oh, it's a nice piece of property. And I said, and she had undervalued it. And,
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm just going to pay you full price for it. I'm going to make your job very easy for you.
Yeah.
And I did. And I held on to it for a year. And I've done this a few times. You buy it, and then I sold it. Then you have long-term capital gains, which is a much lower tax rate for you. So, and flipped it that way. But I didn't do anything but mowed it, you know, just mowed it a few times. So that was it. But just getting out there and knowing value, you know, like seeing things like that. But you look back and like, wish it, shoulda, woulda, coulda, you know, like, so wish you would have done it. And like, so, but, you know, one thing Dad's dad told me, my granddad, a long time ago, I remember I was in high school. He's like, you know, if you're not in debt, he goes, you may be doing something wrong. And I thought, and I said, wait, I don't understand that. And he goes, well, there's good debt and bad debt.
Yeah.
And he goes, you need to leverage the bank's money. And he's talking about real estate. And he goes, you know, you see something that's a value. He goes, go out there and get it. He goes, if you know what it is, and leverage the bank's money, and then you can make money that way. And that was, I've done that many times. And he was right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you're a farmer, you know, that's like the way my family farms up in Kentucky. My brother still farms, and it's, you know, a constant thing, you know, when it comes to, you know, getting your production money that you have to get the grain in the ground and all of that. I mean, it's constantly just that ebb and flow. And, but it is, you got to know what you're doing, and you've got to pay attention. You can't just put your head in the sand. You got to be proactive and stuff like that. So interesting. But Bill, you have anything you want to add to this conversation, young man?
I'm learning. I'm sitting here learning. But,
That's
you know,
great.
somebody like me that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife yesterday about this. I said, I think often I ought to buy this house and flip it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not able to repair and fix
Yeah.
things in the house anymore like when I was young. I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you don't know what you're doing, you better stay out of it.
Yeah.
And I stay with things I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I really regret my husband and I not doing some real estate investment when we were doing the roofing, and maybe going more in lines with roofing contracting. I don't know. The liability on it is hard. It's a hard industry to work with. And if we had taken our business in the direction of more just maybe, buying properties and doing a flip on them, or doing more just general contracting, we might still be in the industry. But we were just worn out from it. We were just like, because it was about right. When did we close? 2009. So it was a downturn in the economy, with all that happened. And so we were just like, yeah, we're out. Because we were just to that point that it just wasn't worth it anymore. My parents, my brother and my dad got out of the hog industry because of the same kind of things. The profit margin wasn't there anymore. Mm-hmm. And if you're just a roofing contractor, it's super hard because the liability is so astronomical. And so we were driving this weekend and the storms were coming through. And my husband said, "Well, I'm so glad I'm not a roofer anymore," because the minute the rain hits anywhere, phones are ringing. Because if there's any kind of moisture, you thank the roofer. It could be your windows, it could be your chimney, it could be anything. But nonetheless, I think we really, in hindsight, if you could go back, we would do some kind of real estate investment, because I think that it's still a very good industry to be in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's, like I said, there's, like my friend Barry and Rebecca says, they're not making any more of it. So you getting that land is a good investment.
Well, let me ask, what's the difference between being in the real estate business in Franklin and being in Springfield, Springfield's a small town, Franklin, quite more expensive than around here. But
Yeah.
I mean, far as knowing what you're doing, you can probably lose more money if you don't know what you're doing in Franklin than you would in Springfield by making mistakes.
Well, before we got on, you mentioned about a house around the corner here. You thought it was, like, can't believe how much they're asking for. It was in the 300s. Down in Franklin, we would tear that down. We would buy it and tear that down and build a new house on it. I mean, so there's no homes like that for sale there.
Oh.
Like, so just not. And it's like, so,
Wow.
So it's very different and I've got a friend in Lawrenceburg, and she's the number one agent down there, and she's, just selling houses left and right. But her average price is around $325,000.
Wow.
And but if you think about it, somebody go down there, FHA loan, get in there cheap and everything, but that's just a different lifestyle down there. But she's rocking now. The thing is, her volume is much higher than mine, the number of homes she sells. And it's like, but commission wise, mine are a lot different.
Right.
My average price is well over $1 million.
That blows my
where
mind.
she's like, I've never sold one that high.
Yeah.
But I've got a guy called me last week and he goes, go out and look at this house for me. I need to come out there. And it's $7.8 million in Nashville. Now with that right there, that's a different caliber of client.
Yeah.
You've got to really know a lot of different nuances about real estate.
Yeah.
And they're very, very, very data driven.
Yeah.
So now up here in Robertson County, so there may be a lot more land deals too. Land is tricky. I did there's something on my LinkedIn right now. I did a video about buying land. It's like you actually have to, there may be agents out there who sell a lot of houses, but they don't sell land. They've never sold land. You may be in trouble. You get into septic, you get into colluvial soil.
Yeah.
And it's like you get into zonings and things like that, what you can and cannot do. I had a client, a few years ago, I was like, I got one right now. He's from California. He goes, I bought this land. He's out in Franklin. He goes, I want to sell it. And I said, why'd you buy the land? Oh, I thought it was a good location. I said, you can't build a house on it. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, it doesn't perk. And you cannot do anything. Plus, you got a cemetery back here. And so, I said, the value you think is there is not there. And now, if I can get sewer out here one day, yes. But right now, no. And it just totally shocked him. And I said, just can't do it. So you got to know he bought it, years ago, thinking, Franklin,
Franklin.
why can I go wrong?
Yeah.
And I think so, so
There is a way.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's like we live on 43 acres, but half of it's steep hill. I mean, it's beautiful, but you can't do anything with it. And so we bought our property because of the buildings and it just was perfect to warehouse our business. We would have never bought that property had it not been that we had the business to warehouse. But if we were to want to sell our property now, you have to look at the fact that half of it, it's just visual. It's just, it's built in berm. You can shoot it, that's nice. And it's right there at the hill, but you can't do anything. I had a friend that bought some property in the Ashland City area, and it was near some family members, and they were going to put a house there. Could not get water. The only way they were going to do water is if they tanked. And they finally just abandoned it and bought a house actually here in Springfield. And they just finally saw that it's beautiful and picturesque and the visual, unless you want to bring your water in the truck. And they tried to dig a well there, and it just didn't have it. I think it would perk, but I can't remember all the nuances of it, but those are the things that you've got to look at. Yeah.
I go out at a piece of property I showed somebody last year, and they said, I love it. I said, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to put a house, I'm going to put a pool. I said, okay, let me stop you right there. And I said, see all those cedar trees there? And I said, they thrive off limestone. That means you've got rock here.
Yeah.
I was like, so that if you see cedar trees, you're going to hit rock. Doesn't mean you can't put a pool in, but it's going to jack up your cost.
And it's going to means blasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on your foundation, if you want a basement and all that. So, and another thing that people move here don't understand, we're on a bed of limestone.
Yes.
And they say, but you also you mentioned radon, and so it's a natural occurring element here, but but it can kind of freak a few people out. You know, there's higher radon levels, which it can always be mitigated, but you got to educate people on it. It's like, well, this is what this is. You know, it's rotting rock underneath your, you know, underneath the house, and like it can cause. Yes, it's shown that higher levels can cause lung cancer.
Yeah,
So,
you got to be careful about it. You got to
exactly.
check all that stuff. And it's you got to know the area. It's fascinating. This is a really interesting conversation. I do need to stop and do another ad, but we'll decide where we want to go. We got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So come back and continue talking. We could go a few minutes over. You will let us do that. But we want to talk about getting, knowing how much home you can buy. Valor Mortgage, that's the source that we talked to. I met Chris Armentrout, and the first time he came in with Scott Irwin from the Veteran Service Office, because they were talking about VA loans. But as we got to talking, I found out Valor's not just in the business of VA loans. Are you kidding? They have it all. VHA loans, conventional loans, jumbo financing, and all the tools that you're going to need to get to the closing table. Any person that works in real estate is going to tell you, before you do anything, you need to find out, what can you qualify for? What can you get pre-approved for? Because until you know, you're just wasting your time looking. And so the way to find that out is to get on the phone and call Chris and his experienced loan officers at Valor. You can call them at 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or you can go to valor.mortgage. Valor.mortgage, get pre-approved today, because buying a home, investing in property is one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make. So you don't want to settle for a lender that's going to treat you like a number. You call those 1-800 numbers, you're going to get spammed, and you're a number. That's all you are. They'll mention your name in those texts that the AI generates for them. But trust me, you're just a number. You want to work with a local team. They have an office right here in the downtown square. Chris will tell you, make an appointment, though, because they're out and about meeting with folks all the time. But you can reach out to them today, whether it's your first home, refinancing, investing in your future, whatever it might be. Valor Mortgage is ready to serve you, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. Buy with confidence. Buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS, number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice. Not a commitment to lend. And of course, let them know U-Turn sent you. And back with it, this is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, y'all know Bill, and this is his son Bruce, and a graduate of Greenbrier High School. I did not realize that. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. My people now. I love Greenbrier. It's such a nice, fun community. We have so much fun. I can't wait to see you kids. I know they can't wait.
He broke his leg playing football there.
Oh my!
Femur.
Yeah.
Oh no!
That was
That's
dramatic.
not fun.
Very dramatic.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ouch! Ouch! That hurts me just to think about it. Ooh.
When I was there, I remember we went around back one day, and they said they gave us all rifles, and we shot ski around back.
Yeah, they don't
During
do that
class.
anymore. See, I grew up in around Mayfield, and I talk to the kiddos are so funny, because they talk about how things have changed. Because I tell them, when I tell them I started in radio in 1980. I graduated in 1980 and started later that year, and their chin drops. They're like, "How old are you, Miss Vivio?" And they start asking me about things of school, and I said, "Well, kids would have their hunting rifles in the back of their truck.
yeah.
Never thought
No big
about it,
deal.
hanging in the window.
No one thought a thing about
We
it.
had a smoking break.
I didn't have that.
I hadn't heard that one.
We had a smoking area and a smoking break in the 70s. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Out between the portables, man, and it was that shady crowd that was out there, because we thought we were so cool, but anyway.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Number one, if you're in another state and you want to move here, should you get a real estate person there to work with somebody here, a real estate person, or how would you do that if you were out of state person wanting to move here?
So a lot of times I do have people that are going to move somewhere else, and they just don't know much. And so I'll find them qualified agents for them, and there.
Yeah.
Now, that agent, I'll do research on them and do an introduction, and it's up to them if they want to work with them or not. But that agent out of state will send me a referral too on it. So yeah, that's I've done that over and over and over again and everything. So now
The key to that is finding knowing who a qualified agent is or isn't. That's the key to it, I think.
It's a little easier nowadays. You can go online and read about things and see people that I would just go. One client told me something one time I couldn't And then he goes, I found you on Zillow. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I saw on there that you sell in this area a lot, because it showed all my past sales.
Yeah.
He goes, and I read all the online reviews about you. And he goes, you work in the area that I want to live in. So that's where, that's how the reviews and everything look. He goes, your reviews look real.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And like I said, but he could see where I worked. And he goes, you're kind of up and down 65 a lot. And I was like, and the thing is, I didn't even realize that when I looked at it and I said, you're right. And I said, but that's how he found me.
Well, and Barry and Rebecca say the same thing about people wanting to live in this area. And they've because I've been working with them ever since we started the show. And they have interesting stories about, so-and-so bought a house without ever coming and seeing it because of all the online stuff that they could do. And it's amazing how they'll do that. I know there's a property on Lawrence Lane that is rumored to have sold to some people in California that just silencing. I mean, they never visited it until they moved in, and that's the story on that. And they're rather mysterious.
That happened to the house next door to me. They never.
Well, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
I had somebody in California that met me online, and I did a FaceTime walkthrough on a house that's 8,000 square feet in Brentwood. They bought it.
Wow.
And the first time they'd ever seen it, the buyer came in, was a few days before closing.
Wow.
It was a little scary. And so, but she's like, hey, this is better than what I thought. And I was like, oh. And I was like, so.
Good.
I was like, so.
Yeah. Oh, that would be unnerving. Yeah, for sure. But it's fascinating. It's a different world. It is a different world. And that's one thing in the high schools when we're teaching. That's everything we do changes every day because we have to be paying attention to what because our students, man, they're living on top of it. I mean, they're seeing all the new stuff and all the news that's coming out. And as teachers, we have to stay on top of it so we can help them navigate it. Especially, I'm in CTE. I'm a career teacher. And that's what my husband and I both, we just double down on the fact that we're trying to help you understand you're going to graduate in a minute. I know it's going to seem like the kids that'll come in freshman year, their freshman year, they think it's going to take forever to get out of high school. Well, it goes like that. And you got to pay attention to what's coming up.
Think about a lot of those jobs that they'll be doing later on are non-existent right now.
You better believe it.
So just like your son working in the cloud over there.
I mean, are you kidding?
Could you imagine 10 years ago? It's like, I work in the cloud. What are you talking about?
And the one that's working with, chat, it's truly, that's a really good point. Those jobs were not there, but their work ethic was, and him working towards learning more about what was cutting edge with Excel and all of that when he was in college, the difference it made. But that's a really good point. Yeah, those jobs weren't in existence.
Well, there's a lot of jobs right now that I think are going to be gone.
Yeah,
soon and everything. But my daughter talks about this. She's like, she wants to make sure and get into something that's not going to be overtaken by AI.
Yes.
And I told somebody the other day, I was like, I don't think there's going to be such thing as a therapist in the future. It'll just be AI telling you things. It's like, so it'd be free.
Yeah.
Why you want to pay somebody to do that?
Well, are you talking about from physical therapy
I'm
or
just about mental
therapy?
So people can go on there and they'll talk about things and they'll create accounts on there and they'll help them through. But if you could go talk to that thing at any time during the day and tell AI anything you want and why go pay for it? And I think that's those types of jobs are programmers, it's going to be a little, what you need to watch out for things. Now it's also going to create a lot of different jobs, but you just got to be, if I was to tell somebody in careers, don't be so, your career doesn't need to be just one thing. You need to know a lot of different things so you can pivot.
Diversify.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I go back to what I tell my principal, that every one of the kids need to understand audio, video better. And they teach me stuff every day because they all come in and it's like, well, I don't use this, Miss Vivio. I use this program and here's what it does. And it's fascinating. I said, as long as you understand what you're doing and you're putting yourself out there. But because the audio and video aspect of our lives is not going away unless we have some big, change in the way things. I don't see that happening to where everything implodes and we're back to the, days of horse and buggy, that, our preppers like to say, well, you never know, it could happen, but I don't think so. But nonetheless, it's just fascinating. We all have to just keep our eyes open and just be willing to learn every day in all of these things. And so interesting. Now you got to come back and talk to us again. And your dad's a perfect example of learning every day. I think he's like me. There's so many things you want to do, and we just don't have enough time.
Right.
Well, it keeps your brain sharp.
Yes.
I mean, it's like exercising a muscle.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
You bet.
Same thing with your brain. If you're not exercising that brain, you're going to lose it. And that's you see a lot of people that retire from something, then they seem to kind of go downhill quickly.
I know.
It's because they're not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, and that's my husband. We retired into teaching. And so we retired from our careers and we're teaching and we're having a blast. And I keep telling everybody, I just highly recommend it. And the kids need us older folks. They get something from us they can't get from a lot of other people. And part of it's just helping them understand what work ethic is, because that is, and I'm so sorry, I thought I had that thing turned off. But that's one thing too, that I get a lot, and I know you got the same thing as a work ethic. And that's something that a lot of the kids these days are not really learning because they're spending so much time on these things.
Exactly.
So I know Lee Marie's got some things that she wants me to mention real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. The TFA dinner is tonight, Tennessee Firearms Association. Are you going?
Yes.
Tonight?
Yes.
Caleb Stratton's your speaker, so be sure and check that out. That'll be interesting. And check out Lee Marie's Well in the Square. She's got some amazing classes. She's got a clogging class coming up on Monday nights, and just all kinds of great classes that she has at Well in the Square there at Crossroads. We want to mention that. But TFA dinner tonight, Caleb Stratton will be there to speak. He will be here next Monday to talk to us all about wildlife resources. But any parting thoughts before we wrap it up? We're all done. So you going to go have breakfast with your dad?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm paying, I'm sure.
Ha, ha, ha. I love it. Look at that. Well, we always let our parents pay. Of course they want to, right? I love it.
We're going to eat at a cheap place.
Oh, you're funny. So
My daughter comes in and is like, Dad, you're putting gas in my car, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
It's like, so you pay and put gas in the
it
car.
just kind of happens, doesn't it?
Just want
It
to
just kinda
check, make sure.
That's really great. Well, it's been fascinating talking with you. I'm so glad to
great.
meet you because
Yeah, enjoyed
he
it.
loves you a lot, and he brags on his kids all the time. And he's always bragging on what you're doing. But boy, when he was like, my son is on television, and he was super excited about that. That was really cool. Tell him how to Google that and find that. What network was it on again?
It was on CNBC.
Okay.
And I always said in Hispanic, it's called Yes NBS. No.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'll get the link and I'll put it in the comments too for you. I should be able to. That's funny. I just got back from Mexico, so that's pretty funny.
It was just talking about that the market is getting more balanced now.
Yeah.
It's not really sellers or buyers market. It's more a more balanced market. That's what it was
Right.
talking about.
Yeah,
So,
right. And again, it's a fascinating industry, and it's one that I think a lot of people need to look at, because as these, I'm just like my kiddos that are coming up. I feel like it's going to be something that we're always going to need, because you got to navigate those waters and all the details. And boy, you'll get lost in the details real fast.
Yep.
And anyway, well, very good. Nice to meet you, Bruce.
Nice to meet you.
Come again, and I will see you. And I really want to hear that history of the theater. So
Also,
we'll
I've
get that.
done a lot of research on data centers. We can do that one time if you want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you've got to check out
This
Bill's articles.
AI and all this stuff has caused the data centers
Yeah, of course.
to get bigger and bigger.
Exactly.
Anyway,
that
that's
cloud,
another
that managing the cloud, like my kid does. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow, Dr. Danny Weeks. Haven't confirmed with him, but tonight is school board meeting. So even though we're on summer break, the administrators of our schools, they work all summer. So anyway, I believe that will still be the case, but I'll confirm with Dr. Weeks, and we should get a report from him tomorrow. So I hope you'll join us. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Have an awesome day.
I'm Ken today.
Well, I got to the church just as late as I could. You see, I hadn't been living quite the way that I should. I walked in the door, the back seats were filled up. I spotted a